Hello and welcome to our webinar, PLM Windchill 12, Top 5 Enhancements You Need to Know, hosted by PTC and Barry Way Miller Design Group. My name is Scott Cargill, Director at Barry Way Miller Design Group, and I will be moderating today's webinar. I would like to introduce our presenters. With us today is Sydney Tsai, Technical Sales Specialist at PTC. With a BS in mechanical engineering, Sydney has worked in various roles ranging from a design engineer in the electric heat tracing industry to a quality engineer in the industrial industry. This experience allows Sydney to understand the nuanced challenges many engineers face and enables him to show how PLM helps other engineers overcome those problems. We also have Ajay Paul, PLM Practice Leader at Barry Way Miller Design Group. Ajay will be helping us answer questions throughout today's presentation. Design Group is the engineering, IT consulting, and technical services division of Barry Way Miller Companies. We are a PTC system integrator and a reseller of PTC solutions. True to our heritage, Design Group is focused on manufacturing. Our 1,500 professionals worldwide bring extensive industry experience to every project. As a manufacturer ourselves, we know what it takes to make world-class products. And with 45 locations in the US, we probably have an office near you. Our website address is at the bottom of this slide. Product lifecycle management is serving as the foundation of the digital thread for manufacturing organizations today. PTC's latest PLM release, Windchill 12, includes many significant enhancements that enable industrial organizations to launch their digital thread initiative quickly and effectively. Our experts have identified the top 5 enhancements in Windchill 12 that you need to know, whether you're an experienced or new user, so that you can maximize your productivity and improve time to market. We want this to be an interactive session today, so we will have a brief Q&A session at the end of each enhancement presentation and another Q&A session at the end of the presentation. You can record your questions as we go along by entering your question into the Q&A text box located in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Now, as promised, Sydney is going to show us some cool new features in Windchill 12.
All right, thank you so much, Scott. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for joining today. I think we have an exciting agenda, and we're going to be covering a lot of new capabilities in Windchill 12. But before we do that, I first wanted to first talk about PLM as a whole and its purpose amongst the enterprise. So PLM over the years has really changed a lot in its importance within the enterprise. Rather than just being used as an engineering tool that's used to vault and version CAD data, it's become more and more important among the enterprise with managing all of your product data. And this expands beyond just the Department of Engineering. It also spans other departments such as service or operations, manufacturing. And with the remote work, also people also working across the number of different geos, making it even more important being able to manage all this information. Additionally, we also have other types of systems where we may manage certain types of information, such as your ERP systems and MES systems. And being able to properly connect and integrate to these other systems have become crucial, making PLM a backbone for managing your digital product data. First, before we go into it, I kind of wanted to highlight the roadmap that we have for Windchill so far. As you can see in the map, we generally have fairly regular releases every 6 months or so. And we have the most recent release was this Kangaroo or 12.0.2 release, which is the long-term supported release cycle. So right now would be a great time if you did want to look into getting a PLM system, since you can get all of the latest capabilities while also having a long-term supported release. So that's a little bit about Windchill and PLM in general. Next, I want to begin diving into some of the capabilities. So for for today's first topic, what we're going to be talking about is digital product traceability. And before we go into digital product traceability, I want to first talk about the need for it. As you can imagine, your digital product data can be managed within a number of different systems. You may have PLM managing your product design data, but then you may also have other types of systems, such as your requirements management system, where you may be using to manage requirements, or a source code management system where you're managing your source code. The ability to understand the relationships of the different types of artifacts that are managed within these different systems can be difficult. And that's really why PLM is so important in being able to manage the digital thread across all of these different systems. With digital product traceability, what you can now do is you can use standard OSLC to connect between these different systems. So when you first begin your design inside of the requirements system, you can manage those requirements within that corresponding system while being able to create links and traceability from that upstream system to another downstream system where you may be managing the functions or the logical structure of your design. Then this can also go into managing the hardware and software components of your product and any other downstream systems, such as testing and validation systems. What this does is allows you to understand and manage that digital thread across your product, but it also allows you to stay compliant with any of the regulatory challenges that you may face in various industries. And it also allows you to better understand the changes that you may undergo with your product. This allows you to work more efficiently, allows you to create higher quality products, and also allows you to reduce your time to market. What we've done in Windchill 12 is using the standard, we've made it possible to link to many of these external systems. So right now, what we do have is we have Windchill over here at the top, and then you can also connect to other systems such as Windchill RVNS or Windchill Modeler. And we also do provide some support for any some third-party systems such as IBM Doors. Now, to show you what this capability looks like, I have this demonstration prepared for you. So so what we see here is we're currently in a product inside of Windchill. And you'll see this traces tab where we can go and easily manage any of the links and relationships to some of those external systems. If we click the plus button, we can begin connecting to an external server, and we can go and choose a specific requirement or type of object that we want to go and manage. And there's different types of links that we can create. Also, you can create, satisfy, or even allocate linkages. Now, down below, what we can also begin doing is we can go and find the individual requirements. So what this allows us to do is to link those individual requirements to the parts inside of Windchill that it defines. Once we go and build that link, we'll now see the links are built inside of the traces table. And you can easily still see the details for each of those requirements. Now, in addition to being able to create those links, what's also very beneficial is that you can begin using these links in a change process. So if we go and start a new change request, we can quickly give a description and a name for this change request. And here inside the collector, starting off with the original part that we had, we can go and begin to collect the related links to this part. And because we went ahead and built those links, we can easily find the related requirements to this part. Once we add that in there, we can go ahead and complete this to create the change request. And once the change request is completed, we can go and navigate to the change request to find all of the related objects. And down below, we can see the requirements have been added to the affected objects. So this makes it easier to understand what requirements may be affected by what changes, and makes it easier for you to do your impact analysis for any future changes. So as you can see, there's a number of benefits that this new digital product traceability allows and provides. The biggest capability and benefit is that it provides multidisciplinary collaboration across different departments and stakeholders. People involved in the product development process can now better understand the linkages and relationships between what they're doing with the overall product, and it allows you to also be able to manage changes better, allowing you to build better and higher quality products at a faster time to market. The end-to-end traceability also allows you to maintain better compliance and stay within government regulations. And also, it's also easier to better analyze the impact of any changes that may occur within your product development system. So this covers the first capability for digital product traceability. I want to open the floor and see if there's any questions regarding this.
Yeah, thanks, Sydney. We do have a question here. What industries will benefit the most from this enhancement?
Thanks, Scott. Hi, everyone. This is Ajay. Thanks for joining the webinar. So digital product traceability, this is a module which is going to be welcomed by almost all users of Windchill. But I do believe that this is going to add a lot of value to industries such as medical device, automotive, aerospace, and defense, where the compliance, regulatory, and safety requirements are utmost. I think these are industries which are going to gain a lot from this. Overall, I think digital product traceability is a great addition, and it's going to take the enterprise traceability to an altogether different level.
Thanks, Ajay. Okay, Sydney, I think we're good to move to the next topic.
All right, thanks, Scott. All right, so moving forward for the next topic, what we'll be talking about here is we're going to be talking about dynamic positioning. And this is a capability inside of the platform structures module. But before we go into dynamic positioning and kind of talking about how it works and why it's valuable, I first wanted to talk about platform structures and kind of level set everyone with what it is. So as you can imagine, as an enterprise, as a company, you may have different types of products that you're building. Take this bulldozer, for example. This bulldozer may come in various sizes and forms. You may have different sizes of buckets. You may have different power levels required, or even different countries that you're selling it to, requiring different types of regulatory compliance. These different variations on your product can add a lot of complexity to the product development process. For each additional choice or variation in a specific feature that you want to add, that could add an additional complexity and make companies have to create another BOM in order to manage that product. And as you can imagine, the more features you begin introducing to your products, the higher the number of variations you have. And this number of variations can grow exponentially. So the big question that a lot of companies are faced now with is, how can we provide higher variability to better satisfy our customers while being able to manage and design our products in a scalable way and with higher reuse? And that's really where platform structures comes in. With platform structures, you can essentially design the product architecture of your product so that you can create an overloaded BOM with all of the different components of your products that can then finally go and create these final configurations. The way it works is you first have to develop the architecture and how you want to lay out your product. So one example would be in the bulldozer, you may have a specific plow or specific tires that you use, or even a specific body of the truck or the bulldozer. Then what you can do after is, for each of those options, you then go ahead and create the necessary CAD models and designs for those parts. And then finally, after you've gone ahead and created those modules or those CAD models, you can then go ahead and create the controls or the choices that go and define those. In here, you can define the different types of options that are available, along with the choices that you can select for those options. Once you have your overloaded BOM built out, you can then go ahead and specify the choices to then generate the final configuration or variant of your bill of material. And this allows you to manage just that one overloaded bill of material rather than managing, tens to hundreds of different types of BOMs. Now, to illustrate how this works and how this development process needs to take place, we're going to be taking a look at this example with this bicycle. So with this bicycle, you can imagine here we have a base model, a deluxe model, and a premium model of this bicycle. In the bicycle, first, what you have to do is you have to plan out the structure and plan out the options of what you can select and what are the different choices that you have for those bikes. Then what you have to do after, there may be certain parts that can be reused across different models, and there may also be other unique parts. So you need to understand what are those relationships between those. After you have the bike developed, you then can go ahead and define the choices that you can select. So here you can see we have a number of different choices on options on the left-hand side, and then we have the specific choices related to those options. So in this example, we have off-road and racing as two possible choices for the type of bicycle that we're going to be producing. Once these choices are defined, we also can then go ahead and build the overloaded BOM that has a placement for all of the different options that can be selected. And then once these different options are then created, you can also create a product matrix that allows you to easily view all of the different availability of and the features of your product line. You can then also go ahead and create rules between these different choices. So you can have things such as include and exclude rules. One example would be if we go and select the racing type of bicycle, it's going to automatically go and select the racing brakes for us. So you can build that type of logic into the options also. And then finally, what you then do after you have everything defined, you can then go ahead and map these choices to the specific models that would be selected for these choices. Now, the way these positioning works for this overloaded BOM, this is generally done on a coordinate system level. So each of these parts will have a coordinate system that then gets mapped to the coordinate system of the assembly or the subassembly. And then that then goes, when you go and select your choices, it will go and filter out just the parts that you need to go and create that variant. Now, the benefit of this is that it makes it much easier to manage these products if you do have a lot of variations, because instead of going through, if you have to go and let's say change a brake, instead of having to change it in 10 different BOMs, you just have to change it in the one configurable BOM or overloaded BOM, and then have that change pushed down to the downstream variant BOMs. So now that we understand how platform structures kind of works on a high level, what we've done in Windchill 12.0.2 is we've introduced the ability to have dynamic positioning for the parts within the geometry. So as I mentioned before, as you go and create the positioning for these configurable products, you use a coordinate system to line up items within the subassembly or the assembly that the part is used in. But with the new capability, you can now dynamically position things, and you can create other interfaces and locators on the individual parts, so you can create a product architecture and how things are related. That means instead of just defining for example, a fuel tank and saying that this coordinate system has to be relative to this origin at this many feet away, you can now create a relationship between the fuel tank that's related to the frame that's then related to, let's say, the chassis or the body of the truck. And you can build the relationships between those, between the parts. So to show how that works, we're gonna go and take a look at a demonstration. So here you can see we're inside a Windchill and we have this configurable overloaded BOM in this example. We'll go ahead and check this out, and we're going to open this up inside of the architecture editor. And this is going to allow us to view and also modify the architecture of the truck. Here you can see how the different modules are related to each other. So most of the things are related to the frame. We also have the engine assembly related to the frame, and then the primary drive shaft related to the engine assembly. So that shows you how these different modules are connected to each other rather than just referencing a single coordinate system. Next, we can also build if we add the fuel tank, we can also go ahead and build a relationship between the fuel tank to the frame. And in here, we can specify the types of locators that we want to use. And you can think of locators as essentially references within the geometry to build the relationships between the part or the downstream part and the upstream assembly. So we can also go ahead and assign expressions to each of them. And once that's all assigned, we can go now into we can go ahead and check this back into the system. And we can now also specify how we want to link specific things together. So in addition to using the locators, you can have multiple locators on an individual part. And this can allow you to easily define how something is oriented on a frame. So here we have one defined for the left mount and a right mount. If we go ahead, we can specify how we want these tanks mounted to the frame of the body. So we'll go ahead and just specify these for the left and the right. And additionally, there's also different ways of assigning these. So you can either do it through the table up at the top or even just do it through the visualization itself. Now, once these locators have been defined, what that's going to do is as you go ahead and build out your variant and you select the choices, it's going to go and essentially mate that locator to the interface on the assembly that it's related to, or that's linked to. So if we go ahead, we can go ahead and select our options. What this is going to allow us to do is filter out our BOM to just the components that we need to build this variant of the truck. And here you can see a representation or visualization of our truck that we built with the choices that we selected. If we go ahead and modify these, if we change this to a longer truck or a heavy duty truck, you'll see that the visualization is going to then go ahead and get updated with the new design of the truck. And we can also create filters so we can easily switch back and forth between different types of trucks that we have predefined. So here you can see we have different tank colors being shown on it. We even have different orientations, so you can have the tank on the left side or the right side. And these are all defined, and these geometry is already predefined with the dynamic positioning capability of the platform structures. Now, these are just the examples of how you can view this inside of Windchill. But what we can also do is we can also view this inside of Creo view. And now we can begin doing our interference detection to ensure that the variant that we generated is valid. Obviously, when you go and define a lot of the geometry, there is a lot of complexity that's built in. So we always want to validate all of our models before we release it. And using Creo view, we can quickly do that interference check. And here we can see that everything is fine. So we can go ahead and close that out. And lastly, what we can also do, if necessary, we can always go and modify the actual CAD geometry if necessary. So if we go and create a configuration context for this, we can specify a specific context that we can then go and pull these CAD models into the Creo session and begin making changes and modifications to the CAD geometry. So if we go and check this out, we can view more details. And what we'll do here is just to show you how the locators are built. We can zoom in to one of the tanks and see the actual locators or the references that were used to build the that link or that mate between the part and the assembly. And that's it for the dynamic positioning feature. Is there any questions about dynamic positioning or platform structures before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, there are. There's actually two questions. The first one, do you need a special license in order to use dynamic positioning?
Yeah, Scott, I think I will take that. So the answer is yes. We will need a separate license for this feature, and the license is called Windchill Product Structure Management. There are some prerequisites though. If you are the viewer of the product structures only, the minimum prerequisite is Navigate View license. And if you're an author of product structures or you are going to redefine some of the product structures, you will need a Windchill Advanced license to get to the user interface. Again, I mean, this is one of the wish list for many of the Windchill users, and I think people will be really happy with this.
Thanks, Ajay. The second question, I think this would be a good one for you, Sydney. How well does the part positioning work with SolidWorks?
Oh, that's it's a good question. So with SolidWorks, you can still position items, but I'm not sure about if you can do that in terms of platform structures with the configurable products. That's something that we would have to double check.
Sure, no problem. We can follow up and get a more exact answer following the webinar. So, okay, good. So that's it. I think we're ready to move on to the next enhancement, Sydney.
All right, great. So for the next enhancement, what we're going to be talking about is going to be BOM redlines. And BOM redlines, if you think about it, is really just the concept of having plan changes before you actually go and execute on them. So really, it's really a subset of the change management topic. So before we go into BOM redlinings and explaining how that works, I first wanted to talk about change management inside of Windchill and kind of talk about that on a high level first before we dive into the redline capabilities. So for those who don't know, Windchill not only manages all of your product data, but also allows you to easily manage the processes involved with managing and designing your product. And one of the biggest processes is always the ability to manage changes. In Windchill, we have a number of different out-of-the-box objects that allows you to easily capture information with regards to changes, and also the ability to automate and manage workflows for the change process. With these workflows, you can easily assign tasks to people based on what their roles are, and you can enforce specific business rules that you have for your specific changes. This makes it much easier for different various types of stakeholders to participate in the change process, but it also provides users the visibility into understanding what changes are occurring within the entire enterprise. This makes it much easier to go through a change process, reducing your time to market, while also reducing the scrap and rework that may be required if you didn't properly manage your changes. Now, with the change process, there's two out-of-the-box change process that come with Windchill. There's a fast one, which is just a simple with simple change process, and then there's also a full one, which is really just the same, but it just has the ability to also go through a change review board or an implementation board to review the change request or a change notice. One thing I do want to point out in regards to these processes is these are just the ones that are out of the box, which work for most companies, but you can also easily tailor these workflows and these processes if necessary to suit whatever your company's needs are. Now, there's a number of objects that are also standard out of the box with Windchill. There's a problem report, which is an object that you can use to capture an issue with your product or even an opportunity to improve it. Then we also have a deviation or waiver, which is just a temporary change, and this is very similar to the problem report. As you go through and you collect a number of issues, you may then begin to open up a change request. And you can have, one-to-one or one-to-many relationship between these. But in the change request, this is where you would then go and collect the affected objects, and then also determine the technical and business impact of making that change. In addition, after you do the technical or business impact analysis, you can then go ahead, and if the change request gets approved, you can then go ahead and create a change notice. In the change notice, this is where the implementation plan will be defined, which will then go ahead and create the change tasks and assign those to the various specified stakeholders to then go and complete. Once those change tasks are completed, that's going to go ahead and close out the change notice, which is going to close out the change request, which is also going to finally close out the problem report. There's a number of things I want to mention with these. The first thing I want to mention is that all these objects come standard out of the box, but the only thing that you really need to actually go through a change process is the change notice. The others are there, and some people may choose to do the problem report or change request in informal methods, such as through email or IM, and that's fine. But these objects are here in case you want to take advantage of it and use this closed loop cycle and closed loop process. The other thing I want to point out is when you go and create a change notice, the change notice is essentially the actual like ECN or engineering change notice. And once you create the change notice and you submit it, the tasks and the plans need to be created. Generally, during the creation of this change notice, this is also where the revision of the objects take place, which means you're going to a new revision and this change notice has been approved and it's something that has to occur. And that's really where some of the challenges come in with some customers, because some customers may want to plan something or may want to figure everything out without actually going through and executing on it. And that's really where the BOM REDLINE comes in. Users now have two options in how they want to go ahead and implement the changes. They can go through the original method, which is using the classic path, where you go and create the change notice and then assign the change tasks to then be completed. The second method now is the ability to redline a BOM and plan the changes that you want to make without actually making them yet, and then having the ability to approve or reject them. So with the redline ability, you can now plan everything and define what needs to be done within the bill of material, such as adding certain components, removing certain components, even modifying certain properties. And then that redline BOM can then be sent over for approval, so you can understand what the intent of a change is. And if the redline is approved, that can then be accepted, and then the part can then be revised to have those changes applied, or the change can also be rejected, and then those the redline BOM will just simply be deleted or archived. So to show you how the redline capability works, we're going to go through a quick demonstration to illustrate this feature. So first here, you can see I'm inside of Windchill, and we're going to be taking a look at this Atlas backplane demo BOM. And you can see there's a number of different items in this BOM. We have quantities and also reference designators. If we go ahead and create a new change notice, we're going to we're going to create one from a template, and we'll just give it a brief description. And because we opened the change notice from that top level item, it automatically went and collected it in the affected objects. So we're gonna go ahead and say okay. And if we navigate now over to the change notice, if you scroll down below, we see the BOM item where we can then go ahead and create a red line. So in this red line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some various changes to this bill of material. So the first thing I'll do is I'll change the reference designator, which is going to go ahead and change the also change the quantity of items for us. I can also remove specific components from this BOM, so we can delete this resistor. And then we can also add other existing parts from within the system if we simply type it down in the search bar below and begin searching for it. You also have the ability to add parts on the fly, so you can also create a new part and then add it to the bill of material if necessary. And then finally, we can also go ahead and just make a modification to one of these attributes. So if we change the 70 to 60, you can see all the changes being made inside of this BOM. So here, all the changes are planned and they're just redlined in the BOM, but they actually haven't been executed on yet. So this is just a way of planning the changes without the execution of it. Now that we've gone ahead and redlined the BOM, what we can do next is we'll go ahead and just submit the change notice. So here, in order to actually create the change notice, we have to go and modify the change task. So if the changes are approved, we can then go ahead and modify the top level BOM that we had and go and revise this. And this action of revising it is going to take it from a version A to a version B, and then also apply those changes that we've created inside of the red line. So here down below, you can see the release target is set to change. And if we go ahead and finish this, that's going to finish our task. So I can go ahead. And if you look at the part, we can go ahead and complete this task. And with the change process, we can also apply electronic signatures, so that way people have to electronically sign something to complete the workflow tasks. Once that's completed, we also have the change process set up so that we have the ability to audit the change. So if we navigate to the change notice, we can go into the audit change notice details or task. And here we can look at the affected objects or resulting objects from this change, which includes that version B of that backplane demo BOM. And if we compare the version B to the version A BOM, we can do a BOM comparison and view the differences between the two BOMs. So here in the middle, we can see that the quantity has changed from 6 to 4 based on us changing the reference designator. We can also see certain items removed from the BOM. We can see attributes modified and also other items that were added to the BOM. So that gives just highlights how the BOM redlining works and how you can now easily manage the plan changes in your system without having to execute on it. So is there any questions about the BOM redline capabilities before we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, there are actually. So we have, again, 2 questions. The first one, can you have multiple red lines open at the same time?
Oh, yes, you can. So actually, let me show a slide for that. So when you create a red line, you can actually, so what you're doing is you're actually just creating or planning a change, but the change hasn't been submitted yet. So you can always go back into that red line or that planned change and modify it. And once the plan change gets approved, what it's going to then do is it's going to go and revise the part from Rev A to Rev B. And then once a pending change is approved, it's going to go and reply to Rev C. but you can have other pending changes or multiple red lines occurring at the same time, and you can then go ahead and apply the other red line to the new revision of Red C, which will then go into Rev D. And then you also have the ability to modify or like reorder certain changes if necessary, if that's one of the needs that you have.
Okay, good. Good. Thank you, Sydney. There is another question here.
Okay.
Do we need to have WT part structures for red lines, or can this be created on CAD structures?
So currently, right now, you do need to have WT parts turned on for the Redline capability. We are providing support for CAD, and that's also something, I believe it's still on the roadmap. I don't think it might have came out already, but the full capability for CAD is still on the roadmap.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, I think it's let's move on to model-based definition.
All right, great. So in this next section, what we're going to be talking about is some enhancements that we have with model-based definition. But in order to really understand, what these benefits are, I think it's important for us to first talk about what model-based definition is first. So as you can imagine, when you create and design your products, you have this digital product definition inside of, let's say, your CAD tool. And in your CAD tool, when you're designing it, you may have certain dimensions or tolerances that need to be defined. These are what we call control characteristics. And these control characteristics are essentially the crucial characteristics that are important to making sure that your product is manufactured properly or works properly. During the manufacturing process, these control characteristics are also used. So oftentimes in the past, these have been those dimensions on the drawings and stuff. But now with model-based definition, you can then go ahead and use these digital annotations inside of the tool that you're using to execute on the manufacturing. Execute the manufacturing on. And then finally, after your products have then been manufactured, you can then go ahead and check the control characteristics, check against them to ensure product quality. So control characteristics are really crucial in the sense of managing your product definition, while also being able to manage the manufacturing of it and manage the quality of your products. Now, what we've done in Windchill 12 is we really enhance some of the ability to use these control characteristics and the model-based definition. In Windchill, you now have the ability to expose a lot of these model items that you have inside of your CAD into Windchill. So if you create certain annotations or dimensions, you can now have those same model items exposed in Windchill, so that way you can easily access it and use it for other downstream processes, such as your process plans and so on and so forth. What we've also included is you can also better visualize these model-based definition inside of Creo View. So in Creo View now, you can also open up different view states of your parts and assemblies, and you can easily view the model-based definition inside of Creo View rather than having it to open it inside of the native CAD application. This makes it much easier to also do your design reviews, and also doesn't require the CAD license that's usually necessary if you opened up through the CAD tool itself. So to show what this looks like, what we have here is a quick demonstration of the model-based definition and some of the capabilities. So here, what we have is we have a change notice, and in this change notice, we have a change task to review this valve. So to review it, we'll simply open up the resulting object inside of Creo View. And with this new capability in Creo View, we can actually open up both the new and the old version of the valve in the same session. And what this allows us to do is we can quickly and easily compare between two different states of the valve. So here we can see a different dimension for some of these holes and different tolerances, along with certain annotations or control characteristics that previously weren't there before. This makes it much easier to quickly understand your model and understand what may be required or necessary to properly manufacture these products. Another thing that we can also do is we have also enhanced some of the AR capabilities inside of CreoView. So you can easily publish this part to an AR experience so that you can easily review and do a design review with people that may not be at their computer or even have access to this specific information. So you can easily go and create this, publish it, and share it with them so they can review and do a design review in the real life context. So here we can see someone's just, doing a review of the valve on their desk. And this is just a simple way of accessing the part. And once everything's completed, you can always go back into Windchill and just complete the change and just continue the workflow as you do your design reviews. So that covers it for the model-based definition portion. Is there any questions?
Yeah, we have another question related to SolidWorks. So will SolidWorks model-based definitions be supported in Windchill?
Yeah, it's a great question, Scott. I mean, there are many of my customers are asking about this same question, and I have reached out to PTC's product managers, and per their feedback, right now, SolidWorks model-based definition data is not supported. However, it is there in their pipeline to support SolidWorks PMI and other CAD packages under the PTC's Unite technology. So I think this is something which they are taking very seriously, and we can just stay tuned to have this for other CAD packages as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Ajay. All right, let's move on to our final enhancement that we're going to highlight: Jasper reports.
All right, great. So this last one should be fairly quick in terms of reporting. So what we've done in Windchill 12 is we tried to modernize the reporting engine. And in the past, we've generally used Cognos that was used to create some of those out-of-the-box Windchill reports. Now those reports, such as the change summary report, the quality reports, or those BOM reports, are now going to be recreated, but essentially with Jasper reports instead. And the plan is to phase out Cognos so that Cognos does not get shipped with Windchill anymore. And this provides a number of different benefits. And first of all, you no longer need to use a license to run Cognos. But then you can also customers can now begin using their own corporate reporting tools to create their own reports. And what we've done so far is just kind of recreate some of those out-of-the-box reports with Jasper, but then we also have the standard query builder reports that come out of the box also with Windchill. Now you can also we will still provide the integration to Cognos. So if customers do want to use Cognos, that is still going to be an option. But the plan is to try to phase it out so that way Jasper reports is used in the back instead. And Jasper reports is I think open source, which is why it's a better option for us. So that covers it for Jasper reports. Is there any questions regarding that?
Yeah, we do. Is it possible to transfer out of the box Cognos reports to out of the box Jasper reports?
Yeah. So the answer is yes. It is possible to migrate Cognos reports to Jasper reports in Windchill. However, as this is a third-party to third-party migration, it will be customers' responsibility to do this move. From what I have seen online, I saw some videos and there are some documentations. This should not be a difficult task. If there is any specific requirements, you can always, anybody can reach out to design group. But I know for sure that this is an exciting enhancement. And I know many of our design group customers will be really delighted with this change.
Okay, good, Ajay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Sydney, I think you're going to close this out, maybe highlighting a few more enhancements.
Yep, that's right. So everything that we've talked about so far is just some of the larger or bigger, more notable enhancements that we've had, but we're constantly updating Windchill and making a lot of little enhancements that may not warrant its own section, but it's still useful for the end user. So in terms of some of the UI enhancements that we've created, one of the things that we've done is we've made it easier for users to access their filters inside of the structure page, so you can easily get and see what filters are applied to your bill of material. We've also provided some additional customization options for the toolbar, so admins can now customize what toolbar options are available when they're inside of the collector, or even the ability to now collect other objects based on configurable links that you've created. Another small change was also the ability to view all the associated changes with a specific part. In the past, so we've had it separated into the different types of change objects, such as problem reports, change requests, and change notices. But now you can easily view all of those change objects in one table. And then finally, we've also included Office 365 integration, as opposed to just your local office. So if you do use OneDrive, you can also easily manage those files inside of Windchill. Now, this is just a fraction of all the changes that has been released. There's been a lot of additional enhancements, but these are just some of the notable ones that I thought the users might be interested in. But just know that Windchill is constantly being updated and with new capabilities and new features coming out in each release. And I think, I think wraps it up.
I think I'm going to bring it home. Yeah, thanks, Sydney. That was great. It was really nice to see some of those enhancements live in the application earlier. So well done. We're nearly out of time, and we've addressed, I think, most of the, not all of the questions throughout today's webinar. So we're going to go ahead and just conclude today's webinar. PTC Windchill 12, top 5 enhancements you need to know. This session was recorded and will be emailed to all registrants. It will also be posted on the Barry Waymiller Design Group YouTube channel. I'd like to thank our presenters for making this an informative webinar, and thanks to our audience for participating in today's session. We hope you found today's event valuable and that you will return for future PTC and Barry Waymiller Design Group hosted webinars. Thank you.